March Madness, college basketball, NCAA men's final. We are here cutting nets today. Cutting nets, right, Leo? Just so we all make sure.
I thought Biho was getting a vasectomy on cutting nets today.
Yeah. So we
No, that's why I was hitting you in the nuts right there. It's a nut punch.
Yep. Right up top. We've got Leo, we've got Biho, we've got Eric here, and we've got one more game to talk about in the college basketball season. We want to thank all of you out there for hanging out with us all throughout the year. We were with you every Saturday morning for Cutting Nets. We would go through the entire, or basically the top 25 schedule. We'd all give out some of our best bets. We'd jump into 15, 20, 30 different games sometimes, and now it's all come down to just one. And a big shout out to all of you three, but also to XFL Jim, to Blackjack, to Kyle, who also helped out and jumped in on different shows throughout the year as part of our Cutting Nets and college basketball coverage. So big thank you to everyone who helped out. And now let's try to make some money in this final game. So Final Four games the other night. One game wasn't very good. The other game was freaking fantastic. The opening game, Villanova versus Kansas. Villanova was just a little bit undermanned. You could tell that the injury that they were suffering that hurt them early. They got down big, and they tried. They battled. They really tried to get back in the game, but they just had too much to overcome. And then, Miho, what we were talking about leading into the North Carolina-Duke game is, like, what are the odds that this is actually going to be a good game, right? Very rarely when these things have the buildup like this. Coach K's final game, I was assuming one team was going to beat the other by 30. But, wow, that was a fantastic game that we saw on Saturday night between Duke and North Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the first game, I was actually out at our favorite Mexican restaurant eating with the family, and I almost had to beat a couple people up in the place because they were just randomly cheering for Villanova with no reasoning behind it. You could tell they weren't gamblers. It was just women sipping their margaritas. And at one point, I looked at my wife, and I'm like, I'm about ready to stand up on this bar and tell everybody to eat it if they don't start pulling for Kansas. Of course, then they got real quiet, and, me, I had to let them hear about it a little bit.
So give us just a little bit reflection off of the weekend, Leo, before we dive into this game. What were your thoughts on those two games we saw Saturday night?
I was absolutely stunned by how well Kansas shot the ball. I mean, Abaji didn't miss early. Right. That wasn't a game. I thought Villanova would at least slow it down, keep it close, but Kansas was able to push the pace, knock down some early shots, and just kind of buried them. They never really got into the game, and then the other game was just awesome to watch. At one point, I was almost certain Duke was going to get through that. Yeah. And once Mark Williams missed that first free throw, you're like, oh, he's got lemon booty. You can see it. You can just see him just tightening up, and you knew that one was going to be short. I got to be honest, though. When it was 79-77, I forgot who shot that free throw. I thought Paulo was going to get that rebound and slam it down, and we were going to overtime. Overall, awesome game, though. I'm actually kind of excited for tonight. I feel like tonight's going to be a lot of fun.
Eric, the broadcast and the ratings and the networks, as far as like the ratings are concerned, they got almost as good as it possibly could be, right? If they would have gotten Duke all the way through to the final game, that would have been perfect with all the Coach K stuff. But they almost got him all the way through. They got him to the Final Four. Duke losing to their rival, and that being perhaps the send-off for Coach K. That was a pretty exciting tournament with all of that happening. And when you end up with two top programs, mainstream people all know North Carolina and Kansas. If you made a list of the 10 greatest college basketball schools of all time, these two would be on it, with the two that we saw in the Final Four, Kentucky, UCLA, Indiana, maybe one or two others in that mix. So I think it's a good final from that sense, but wow, they probably would have loved to see Duke and Coach K and be able to show him on the camera over and over, huh?
I mean, they would love for Duke to get there, but they got the game. I mean, Duke, North Carolina is must-watch TV. I mean, the game was great, and it just blows my mind how no one is talking how Moore was the only kid from Duke who went through the handshake line. He was legitimately, from the whole team, the only one that went through the handshake line. All those other kids just left the floor.
That's a Coach. It's funny when we'll talk about this. There have always been a few things through the years with Coach K that would bother me, that rubbed me the wrong way. Just kind of the way he would talk. You'd hear certain things and it'd be like, why did you lie about that? Or like, why weren't you?
Yeah, he lectured a kid.
After it was Dylan Brooks. It was Brooks, right, from Oregon, right? And then he
Yeah.
kind of lied about what he said afterwards, and it was sort of so he's one of those guys that and with Duke, it'll be sad to see him go in that you either love him or you love to root against him, right? He's someone that for Duke, I think Duke is up there with probably the Yankees, the Lakers, and maybe teams
Cowboys.
that people love to root against as much as any. So Coach K is kind of like that, and he's been the head of that because they've been good, but because they've sort of been maybe a little bit stuffy. They sort of were, maybe like stuck up. They weren't like having fun a lot, like a lot we would see in other college basketball. They didn't embrace the one and done stuff as much. So Coach K, whether you loved him, whether you hate him, he is now done. But we are going to move on to North Carolina versus. Go ahead.
Hey, before we get into that, did you guys see the Nolan Smith news today?
Did not.
Kenny Payne hired him at Louisville. So
Okay.
Nolan Smith's leaving Duke's bench to go at Louisville. His dad's a legend at Louisville, so I'm sure he's pretty excited about that. But, that's a big – Shire's got his work cut out for him.
Yep.
It's not going to be easy. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Duke does with Shire over the next few years.
So North Carolina versus Kansas. This game is about – you've been able to see it in the 4 to 4.5 range or so. Kansas is around a 4.5 point favorite or so against North Carolina. Over under in this game, 151.5. We've got a game that starts tonight. We've been joking about it at 9:20 Eastern time. Whew. People on the East Coast, that's late for some of you. I'm fine kicking it out here at 6:20. I'll be good to go, but not easy for some folks that want to get up early tomorrow. North Carolina 29-9, 21-16-1 against the spread. And they have been playing fantastic basketball now for like a month and a half stretch. For as much as we look back and think it might be fluky, when you break and dive into their metrics from late February, they've been very, very good. And their defense in particular has been much improved. Both of these coaches tonight, for Kansas and for North Carolina, they both replaced Roy Williams. Funny to think about. That's never happened before, where you have them both replacing a guy playing each other in the final. This is the 6th time these two teams have met in the Final Four or in the final. So pretty crazy that they know each other. These schools know each other really well through the years. Lots of history here. On the Kansas side, 33-6 overall, 20-18-1 ATS. So Eric, let's jump in and get some of the analysis from you. I think just from a talking point, Baycott is going to, be interesting how much he can play, right? Physically, what he can do here, because we know North Carolina isn't very deep and they don't have a ton of size. So if he can't go and at least give them something, that may change how we handicap the game. But if we're looking at it and he can go and give them something, man, this North Carolina team has been playing really, really well. So that to me is sort of one of the real keys to the game.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I have 2 bets for this game. The first bet is I played the first half under a 71.5. My thought process is Kansas played unbelievable. I mean, they shot the lights out. Jesse Noel tweeted out that Kansas scored 1.398 points per possessions against Nova with 0 points in transition, which is astronomical.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, I expect North Carolina, after the emotional win of Duke, for about the first 4 or 5 minutes to the media timeout, they're going to be a little tight. They're going to come out a little tight. So I expect this game to start off a little bit slow. So I played the first half under a 71.5. My next play, I was actually able to get North Carolina plus 4.5. I do like them at 4. You hit the nail on the head. The biggest question is, what's Beho's boy? What's his health situation going on? I had a little birdie tell me he's good to go. He's going to play tonight. It shouldn't be an issue. Per KenPom, North Carolina is 346 in bench minutes. And when Bayak's not on the floor, they're giving up 1.24 points per possession, because what teams do is they get Mayak in the pick and roll, and Mayak's footwork outside isn't as good as Bayak's. And then also the big thing is North Carolina is just such a great rebounding team. The stat that really stood out to me is North Carolina gets an offensive rebound on 40% of their misses, which is astronomical.
Yeah.
And if they're able to do that, what's that going to do? That's going to limit Kansas's ability to get out in transition, because they're going to have to get hit the defensive boards just because of the threat of North Carolina hitting the offensive glass. Anyone that's listened to this show knows the three things I value are rebounding, free throw shooting, and three-point shooting. I give North Carolina, I give them the advantage in all of them. I locked in the 4.5. I like them down to 4.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm very much in agreement with you is I don't know if I can play a side without at least watching a little bit of the game and then getting in live until seeing Baycott. And if I was, I would definitely play the dog side there, because if Baycott is healthy, then you get the benefit of, oh, you know what? Maybe this would have been a little shorter if maybe there was a point or two built into him possibly being hurt. I do like the under, though. I do like thinking they're both going to be a little bit tight. And I've been talking about North Carolina's defense and how improved they have been recently. They have been one of the best 15 defenses in that stretch I talked about in the last 6 weeks. That is not something you ever thought of a strength for them. And they're long, they're deep, but they're long and they are big, but they're not deep. They don't have depth. If they do get into foul trouble, if they do have an injury, they're in some serious trouble. What I do, Kansas rebounds pretty well, and their defense, I've been incredibly impressed with Kansas's defense and how they've been locking down. This is something that we talked about through a lot of the season with Eric. You hit on this, those Big 12 defenses, how tough a lot of them were. And then, for the Big 12 teams to go outside of the conference and play against other teams, it was going to be a little bit easier. It's kind of the flip side. If you haven't been used to playing that level of a defense, and you look at some of those defenses in the Big 12 and how good they were, I mean, Kansas has been excellent. So I'm leaning under, in particular, the first half under with you. Leo, tell us some of your handicap of this game and some of the things you're looking to play.
I mean, anyway, you kind of break this down, to me, it's kind of a 50-50 game. In the 50-50 game, I'm taking the dog. And you know what? I kind of do like North Carolina. I'm going to play North Carolina on the money line here. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not overly confident in it. But you know what? I got plenty of reasoning here. Like Eric was saying, okay? They're better rebounding. And the big thing for me is that they're better free throw shooting team. I love the fact that they're a better free throw shooting team. Kansas to me has been soft all year, and Abaji's been really, really good, but he disappears at times. And he's gone through a couple stretches so far this tournament where he's disappeared. And we all know Baycott is extremely crucial in this game. If Eric's little Tweety Bird is telling us that he's okay, I'm going to go with Eric here. Caleb Love has been the most outstanding player in this entire tournament. I mean, the dude is just hitting shot after shot after shot. He's been phenomenal. But the key to this game for me is Leaky Black. Leaky Black is one of the best defenders in the country. I think he can match up pretty well with Kansas. They can put him on a couple different dudes. He can really dominate this game defensively. I think he's the difference maker, and I kind of like North Carolina to win.
North Carolina for Leo. Beho, where are you leaning in this game?
Well, no, I'm not with these Petey Pablo lovers. I'll tell you that. Now, look, you guys, as Eric said, my boy, Baycott, who I've been preaching about for months on this show about how good he was. I think he's the best player on the court at the end of the day. But look, I think everybody has just forgot Kansas has been playing lately. I think on the last show, somebody mentioned that they've been sneaking by. They've literally smashed 2 teams in this tournament. Nobody's been talking about them. Why? Because they're just handling their business. So now all of a sudden they're not good anymore. Look, Bill Self's been there before, right?
Wait a second. I'm sorry, Beho. I need to cut you off. Who did they smash?
Well, they crushed Villanova, and then who did they beat before that?
Without their leading scorer. You talking about the Miami game?
No.
They beat them up in the second half. They did turn on.
They beat them up in the second half, but let's not forget that they were losing by 6 at halftime.
They won by over 20 in this tournament. So
yeah, that was the Miami game, and they were down 6 at halftime. Miami fell apart.
Well, guess what, Leo? They played 40 minutes. Clown.
Let's not pretend like they dominated that game. The Villanova game they get credit for.
Okay,
but let's not forget that they were without their leading scorer.
Beat by this and that. North Carolina lost to Kentucky by 29. So just remember that too. Okay. So, anyways, at the end of the day, look, everybody's forgot about Kansas, especially Leo. He's a clown. Bill Self's been there before. I don't think he's going to be very nervous. Hubie Davis has not been there. We don't know how he's going to react. You know what I'm saying? Look, Kansas is a solid basketball team. They play very good. They had a moment against Kentucky this year as well, which is crazy that Kentucky beat these two teams by combined 47 points. But, that got us nothing because we lost to St. Peter's because we clowns. But yeah, man, with Abaji and Brown and McCormick and all these guys, like, that's what scares me about North Carolina is if Love's not hitting and Baycott's not playing out of his mind or gets a little tweak on that ankle and comes out or Manick's not nailing threes, like, they're going to be in big trouble. Whereas I don't think Kansas relies on one guy as much. So
okay, I like that point, right? Because Kansas feels like they have more ways to win.
Yeah.
Right? More options. Because like we're saying with North Carolina, they don't have enough depth to where if one or two of those guys aren't on or playing pretty well, they're probably going to be in some trouble. They do need their top four. Like, they've got 6 guys that they play. They need 3 or 4 of those guys to all have solid games, or else they probably won't be able to compete. And they've been doing that, though. So,
yeah, they have. I mean, credit to them. They've been on fire. But all it takes is one off night. We all know in this tournament. Yep. And if Caleb Love's not playing well or Baycott's not playing well, I don't even think Manick can control it. Like, if those two guys were off, I don't think Manick can go ballistic, right? So it's really Love and Baycott. If either one of them has a bad game, I think Kansas thumps them. So I took the Jayhawks here. I'm rolling with them. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. I'm laying the 4 points. Now, I did throw in a little parlay. Baycott over 13.5 rebounds, Caleb Love over 2.5 threes, and Kansas money line plus 395 for those playing at home.
We are a couple hours away from the game tonight. I guess about an hour and a half or so now, and we encourage you to get involved. What's cool about these games is you can play a little bit more player props too. Biho mentioned a couple. If you know, most college games, there aren't as many individual player props as there are like in NBA games. But for this one, there's a lot of different things.
Yeah, it looks just like an NBA game.
Yep, you can dive into lots of different stuff. Player props, totals, rebounds, assists, all sorts of stuff like that. So if you have an angle or a handicap you really like, you can bet in even a more focused way here. Fellas, any final thoughts before we get out of here? Leo, remind us once again what you're playing and what would give us like a kind of prediction of how this thing ends tonight.
Yeah, rolling here with North Carolina on the money line. Don't get fancy. You're going to get decent odds on it here. Leaky Black is going to be the difference maker on the defensive end. Caleb Love, most outstanding player in the tournament. I don't know what his player prop is, but you should probably just bet the over. This dude's shooting the freaking lights out. He's on fire.
13.5 or 18.5 maybe.
What's up?
Yeah, I think it's 18.5.
18? Yeah, I mean, I'm playing that. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Oh, look at that sexy shirt, though.
Look at that bad boy. Look at that bad boy. So when you play tonight and you win some money, whether it be on one of the player props, if you're in North Carolina with Leo and Eric, maybe you're on the Kansas side with Biho, maybe you're on the underside with me and Eric. You win, you go grab this shirt. Even if you don't win, you can still grab the shirt. We won't tell anyone, folks. It's all good. It's a comfortable shirt. You can get a free shipping on your promo code GINO, so it saves you $5, and it's a big help to us, folks. Help us support one of our partners. You can scratch our back. We always want to scratch yours, give you a little free analysis, free content. We have so much coming up as college basketball season winds down. What's going to start up in 2 days, Biho? Oh, yeah, baseball. So one starts and another one ends, and boom, it's all right here on BTV Bets. We're going to have baseball previews for you coming up, baseball shows, a lot of baseball content. Eric, myself, and Kyle will be shifting our focus into the NBA playoffs as that's going to continue on in a little bit. We still have our Monday Mohawk harness racing every Monday, every Thursday Mohawk Mania. So we will continue on. Heck, Masters is coming up this weekend. There's a lot going on in the world of sports. A fantastic time. Eric, give us some of your final thoughts on how this thing winds down.
Both teams come out tight. Comes down to the end. I think Kansas wins, but North Carolina stays within the number.
That is final thoughts from Eric. And man, got to give you credit again, buddy. Thank you. Over the last couple of years, you helped me out on my shows on where you were coming on here and there, and then it became every week. And we were very lucky to have you over here with us on Better Than Vegas. You're always very well prepared. You always put the time in, and very respectful with all the work, man. Keep kicking ass over there. Thank you so much for helping us out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's going to be weird Saturday morning not seeing you guys, talking guys in the morning.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
Kidding.
We've had that going for a while. Leo, my friend, man, you are one of the main men over there at BTV. You're always ready, willing, able to do whatever is needed. It's been another fantastic couple months talking some college basketball with you every day, every weekend, and good luck on your plays tonight, buddy.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Miho, gosh, we go through the list of everything and we even forget. I mean, these Riders Up shows that we're doing every week, those have been a blast, right? Those have been a lot of fun for you and I, getting to talk to some of these jockeys that we've never really had conversations with before.
Yep, we're recording another one tomorrow. And I just got the news today from our buddy Umberto Rispoli.
Rispoli. There we go.
That he has changed his mind and taking his tack to Kentucky instead. So he'll be in my backyard. So I'll have to go over there and say hi to him a couple times and catch a drink with him. And
that was a great chat. So
yeah,
if you were along for the ride with us, if Leo led you to a couple winners, he had a great stretch over the last few weeks. Biho, he was doing awesome all throughout the year. Eric has been on an absolute roll. If we ever helped you out a little bit, go purchase one of these t-shirts. It'll help us out. You'll get an awesome shirt out of it. And we look forward to seeing you again right back here on BTV Bets. Eric and I will be here talking some NBA basketball tomorrow with Kyle. What did we say? 4 Eastern time, Eric? 4 tomorrow? Is that
4 Eastern. Yep, 4
Eastern time tomorrow. We'll talk the NBA slate, and we'll give you a couple plays and props for the night. Good luck tonight, folks. We'll see you back here tomorrow on BTV.